Hey guys, it's Alyssa here, and today I wanted to film my palette collection. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this because I kind of have a lot of palettes. First of all, I have this Coastal Scents Smoky palette. It looks like that. And I barely use this palette because I usually go for more natural shadows and stuff. If I really wanted to play with this, it would be really easy. Next, I have the Coastal Scents Warm palette, which is 88 eyeshadows, and they're all neutral. This palette has some colorful shades, but they're not very bright. They're very faded, and they're all very wearable, every single color in this palette. And as you can see, they have a huge selection of highlights. Next, I have the Coastal Scents 88 Original palette, and it basically looks like the same thing on the outside, but on the inside, very different story. Let me just compare really quickly the Warm palette to the original palette, if I can open it. Look at the difference in like how neutral this palette is and how bold this palette is. It is for you adventurous makeup wearers. I also have the first palette I ever got. It's the Shanny Cosmetics palette. There's my, camera. It's actually broken, but it's funny because I got this, it was like Christmas 2 or 3 years ago, and this is before Shanny was ever like a big thing to YouTubers, and now like people are suddenly starting to love this brand. So I mean, I guess I was way ahead of the bandwagon on that one, but there's some neutrals again, but a lot of these are really bright colors, and I don't know what this is called. It's just called like the 96 color palette, I guess. Next, I have my Sigma Resort palette. This palette is a beautiful summer palette for those of you guys who like to add a pop of color. And then it also has this eyeliner pencil, which I used pretty much every day this summer. This pencil is beautifully pigmented. This is obviously the teal, and then this is the brown, which is definitely a warmer brown also. It's a really earthy brown shade, but just the beauty of these shades is insane. And smudge wise, they both smudge out really nicely, but once they dry, like, they're gonna stay put. The next palette I'm gonna show you guys is the NYX Butt Naked Eyes palette. The mirror is huge, and the colors are all so wearable. And then underneath, it slides out, and there are 4 blush shades, 2 highlighters, and a bronzer. The next palette I'm going to show you guys is my Naked Basics palette, and it has 6 shades in it. These colors are very pigmented, and they're so pretty, and for a nice neutral travel palette, this is it. If you are a matte person, or you like having your simple matte like transition shades and stuff like that, that is just totally a great palette to check out, so go look at it. As my hands are continually getting dirtier and dirtier, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my Lorac Pro palette. I absolutely love this palette. I just mentioned it in my favorites video for January, and it is just the best palette that I own, and it's the one I gravitate towards the most. The names are so stupid. There are beautiful transition shades like mauve and like taupe, and then there's some deeper shades that you can kind of play with, like a corally copper color, and then there's like a deep purple, and then there's this kind of blue-gray, and then there's this jet black, and there's like a lot of beautiful shimmery shades as well. This is The Balm Nude Tude palette. The packaging is so adorable, it's so cute, and it's kind of scandalous, so if you want to get this palette for like a child, which technically I'm a child, but I'm just saying, if you want to get it for a child in your family, there is a cleaner version. Next, I have the trio of everyone's favorite palette. First of all, I'm going to start off with the Naked Original. As you can see, mine is beaten up. It takes a lot of tumbles, but anyway. This is my Naked palette. This is definitely a warmer palette. If you have a really cool skin tone, you might not like it, but I have a cool skin tone and I like it. So the next palette I'm going to show you guys is my Naked 2 palette. This one is definitely very cool toned. It has some richer shades, not quite as many as the Naked 1, but it has really beautiful shimmers and really beautiful mattes. Tease is pretty much the only transition color in here because it's the only like mid-tone brown, and it's very cool toned. So if you don't like a cool toned transition color, this is the only transition color in the palette, so you should not get this palette. But if you do not like a warm toned transition color, then you should definitely get this palette because the Naked 1 has only warm toned transition color. Lastly of the Naked series is the Naked 3 palette, the brand new one, all talked about and stuff like that. And this one is very rosy. As you can see, there's not really a ton of darker colors. Strange is a highlight. It looks like it's matte in the packaging, but it's definitely not matte. It's pretty satiny. And as you guys can see, these are the colors in the Naked 3 palette. It's so beautiful. Lastly of the bigger palettes is my Vice 2. Packaging is probably the most gorgeous packaging I've ever seen. And you barely tap the bottom and it just pops open. These shades on the bottom probably are the ones I'm going to wear the most because they're the most wearable. But if I wanted to add a pop of anything, these are so immensely pigmented and creamy and beautiful. It would be so easy to add these colors into any look. I have a lot of smaller palettes, so I'm not really going to explain. I'm just going to show you guys what they are. So first of all, I have a blush palette. It's the Coastal Scents 10 blush palette. It has all these different shades in it, and they have another one that's called Blush 2, but T-O-O, not T-W-O, and it has more cool toned blushes in it than this one does. I also have the Coastal Scents Eclipse palette, which was my favorite palette back in the day for concealing. As you can see, that was my shade. This is the green, super pigmented, so seriously, be gentle with that. Next I have my at-home Alyssa's Blushes, so tacky, blush palette that I made out of e.l.f. blushes. I have Mellow Mauve from This Way Over, then This Way Over. Mellow Mauve, Candid Coral, Tickled Pink, Peachy Keen, Twinkle Pink, and Pink Passion. And I made that. I can show you guys how to do that someday if you guys want me to. Just let me know. I also have this Love and Beauty palette by Forever 21. And it actually has really pretty colors in it. I actually used it in an old tutorial. I don't know if it's still up because I got made fun of from people back in my town for that video, so I kind of deleted it. But then I have this Profusion Beauty palette. It's horrible, don't get it. It's like from CVS. Then I have this Too Faced Eyeshadow Insurance Policy palette. The most pigmented and creamy and buttery eyeshadows I've ever worn in my entire life because these colors are insanity. Like absolute insanity. Like what is this? It's crazy. I almost said it's insane. One swatch. And next I have the NYX Bohemian Chic palette. It's a mix of a couple of different neutrals. And then the bottom pushes out. Again, NYX tends to do this with their palettes a lot. Have the bottom pull out, and it's just two blushes and some eyeshadows on the side. Next, I have the Wet n Wild Petal Pusher palette. It's just a bunch of purples, and I only got it because this color here. And then next I have the Sparkle Glamour Quad from Bobbi Brown, which these colors are very pigmented and very, very, very pretty. I so should have done a Valentine's Day look with these. That would have been so nice. And I have this Victoria's Secret palette. It is the Glam New Year palette, and I got it as a gift from a friend. And these are the colors in it, and it is very pretty. And lastly, I have this Avon Luxe Clutch eyeshadow palette. It's just purple. And very, very small pans. Has some pretty colors in there. So that is it. That was my palette collection. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I'm sorry if I did. I tend to do that sometimes. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will hopefully see you guys all later. Bye! I don't want to touch it with my dirty hand. Okay. Did I just chip that? Yeah, I did.